athletes. Like we had a girl from who does lacrosse, and she came from Niagara Falls, and yeah, she takes the GO bus, so 4.5 hours, and when she comes in, she just kills the place. 2.5 hours of her just going insane.
Yeah.
Like I tell people, movement is movement. Acceleration, deceleration, lateral to lateral, rotational.
Yeah.
Those are the basic platforms for athletic movement.
Yes.
And so, when looking at sports, some sports might have more than others, but you still have to work all 6 planes of movement. And if you don't do that, then you can't really maximize true strength and speed potential.
Yes. Yeah. True. Definitely. Nice.
And for people don't know Pilates in terms of what you do in terms of range of motion, in terms of stability, is some of the key factors. And what we have to do in the Monarchs is get you out more. With 5,000 members, active members in the program, I think, moving forward, I'm putting together an exercise strength training program for the Monarch kids, and we do lots outside. But in terms of just creating movement and stability, people got to really jump on board with what you're doing, and that stuff is key.
So those early adopters like yourself they're like, yes, we need this, and there's people like, yeah, I need to just get strong first. I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah, well, they don't understand that their strength is limited to their range.
Yes.
So for instance, now we have some volleyball players come in, young lady, 6'3", 6'2", tall. She's I want to jump higher. And it's like, okay, you know what? Let's analyze what your deep squat looks like.
Yeah.
Just I'm not a big fan of deep squat in terms of power, but I'm a big fan of deep squat in terms of just like mobility. And especially stuff that Pilates brings to the table in terms of hip mobility. A lot of athletes can understand the impact it'll have on them immediately, and especially in terms of sports prevention.
Yes.
So that movement factor is huge in sports prevention.
Absolutely.
Injury prevention. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, it's the weakest link, right? So if you have this big chain and you have like a 1-inch link, and every chain link is huge and strong, but the one of them is like slightly open, it doesn't matter how strong the whole chain is.
Exactly. So
and I see that now. I have my athletes, like, if you watch any of these videos where I'm working with these guys, when they're doing leg circles, they're dying on a leg circle.
Well, like, I almost have to put a gun to some people's head to say, listen, in the warm up, we're going to work on in terms of lateral, sagittal plane rotation, and these things are like foreign to coaches. Yeah. I didn't do that when I grew up. Well, there's a nuance of science. There's yoga. There's Pilates. These things now should be interjected into every basketball training system.
Absolutely. Like, I've been talking for years about static versus dynamic stretching, and the same thing you're saying right now. And there's football, same thing. You stand there and you stand and do like a standing. This is football warm up back in the day, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're standing there. You're putting the muscle to sleep.
Right.
You're not activating the muscle you're going to use going 100 miles an hour in a minute. So, stretching movement prep is where it's at for sure.
Yes, even if you look at some of the old track athletes, what was the common injury? Hamstring pull.
Right.
Because they're sitting there doing a long hamstring contraction, and then now they're trying to accelerate their body, and like you said, they're putting the muscle to sleep. Yeah. Versus, creating more activity in terms of, activating the muscles, getting the muscles warmed up. Like, I have to, some other stuff that baffles me in some of the warm-ups is like, where, they have kids in a circle, and they're counting to 10 on a stretch. And
yeah.
if you're doing a static stretch, count to 10, you've done 0 for that muscle. You did not elongate it. 30 seconds or more at the end of a stretch.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I'm always trying to get trainers to just talk about how do we educate our people. We don't want to just train our students. We want to actually educate them too, so they know, how to better prepare their bodies. Like what you said, that's just pure knowledge, right? But a lot of times they're gonna go and then they're gonna sit in a circle and do a hurdler stretch and lie down there, and it's not gonna help them, right?
I had a really good compliment the other day. I think our major Adam girls were in Hoop Dome doing a competition.
Yes.
And I'd have a friend named Jordan who's a kinesiologist, and he played for me at St. David's way back in the day. He's like, man, I knew your implement was there when you heard girls who are 11-year-olds say external rotation at the hip.
Yep.
It was hilarious, and I was like, I didn't get it at first, but I said, okay, you know what? These kids remember that, and then it becomes almost like a copycat thing in basketball now, where they call it the Kenny stretcher. It's like, no, guys, I stole a whole lot from Mike Boyle and a whole lot from Gary Gray here, so not the Kenny stretches, but at least it is what it is. They're doing something.
Let it run, man. Like, let it run, as long as it's right, you know?
Exactly. But it's good, though, that they're moving in that direction, and the sports science is changing. Yeah. Now, in terms of where it needs to be, it's only 20%. So, it's just going to continue for guys like me and you to continue to go out there and push and show it and whatnot. Like, we're doing a Monarchs workout later on tonight, and I'm going to spend about 10 minutes going through dynamic warm-up, going through what a half kneel is and with rotation and why is it important for it, and then try and not just limit the workout to just the Monarchs. We're calling it that because they're paying me for it, so I got to do that. Yeah. But in terms of that, try and get everyone else. I'm inviting the booster, track athletes, everyone else. I put a little thing this morning talking about what you do in terms of they need to be seeing you in Mississauga. They need to be coming and seeing you minimum 4 to 5 times a week if they're a serious athlete.
Yes.
A lot of these parents are spending money on $200 shoes when they should spend $200 with you, getting their hips mobile and strengthening. And half the injuries we're seeing, it's a lack of mobility. Especially the ankle rotation. In terms of working with you guys, just a simple thing like ankle rotation and the ability to absorb force when they impact the floor is something key. What in Pilates, I think a lot of trainers don't understand in terms of the beauty of it in terms of assessment.
Yes.
Assessing an athlete just watch their warm up. Yep. Like, oh shoot, you know what? I want to just take out we're not doing any jumping plyometrics. Look at that internal rotation at the ankle. Right. That means you're gonna have the ACL injury, especially with females, ACL, PCL. I'm gonna lose my mind seeing that, but they want to come to me to jump higher. Like, well, the reason why you're not running well is because your feet are not, you're not absorbing force and move up the floor. Motion. I mean, you can have fake abs or you can have real core strength.
Yes.
And so, that's a key thing I think that people are really underestimating in terms of what Pilates does. Like when they had the good old Camp Fit Pro conference back in the day, and I had to do courses. I was like, let me do Pilates. I need to get these CECs.
Yes.
My God, that lady like 16 years ago almost put me through like hell. And then it was like, okay, you know what? I just stepped my game up.
Joseph Pilates said, "You're only as old as your spine is flexible."
I'm still in that. I'm still in that.
You're only as old as your spine is flexible. And I've seen this a lot where a lot of times people have a good core and they have a six-pack and they're strong and they can't do a move that I'm asking them to do, not because their abs aren't strong enough, but because their low back or their upper back or their thoracic spine is so tight that it's restricting them from getting into that flexion. And you're doing a great job with this, just physical literacy, educating our students on what it means in their body and what they need to look for and how they need to listen to their body in terms of a movement to actually be a correct movement pattern so that they can, jump, pivot, Euro step, lateral change direction, all that stuff, right?
Exactly. Lateral change of direction. What we might have to do is actually break this down for people a little bit, because right now we're getting excited, but now to break it down for the client now in terms of just how functional, how it works for them. We're going to break it down in a set of language that they can understand. Absolutely. Especially with basketball athletes. I've been telling them, break it down. Okay, you know what? Your abdominal wall on your lower back, that's 20% increase you're going to have when you're jumping. And when they hear that, they're like, okay, what is it? Let's get into it. Yeah. So it's breaking it down to terms that they can understand and they want to hear and they want to follow.
Talk about the leg circles. One of the things that they do too with that is that I'll have them doing a leg circle and they'll do a small circle. If you go to any class, if I go to a Pilates class somewhere in the city, they'll tell you to do a small circle and it'll be just this, they're drawing a circle on the ceiling, just a really small circle. And then they'll tell you or they'll tell you to do a big circle where your hip is opening and circling around big, right? And with that, it's interesting that, let me demonstrate for you.
All right, that's what we want to pay to see people.
Yeah.
If people are following me here, Pilates for Ballers, guys. This guy's awesome. You gotta follow him.
So what happens is, if I'm doing a circle, right? A lot of times there's a lot of women in the class, and they tend to do a circle, and there's nothing for them to do this big, huge, sweeping circle because they have that hip mobility, right? So that is not a challenge. So then for them, I would say, tell them to do a small circle, just like that, right? So that smaller circle, now what we're focusing on is actually using the hip and the glute muscles and the glute mid muscles to just stir that thigh bone in the hip socket, right? So like that, your mortar and pestle, right? So this is your thigh bone, this is the hip socket. That's what is happening. Now, if you have a lot of hip mobility, if I see people in the room have a lot of hip mobility, I tell them to do a small circle. So now they have to recruit those glute muscles to control the movement. And if I have people in the room that have really tight hips, I'll tell them to do a big circle. So I'm helping them to dynamically increase their range of motion. See what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, so like a lot of that, it comes down to, so when I have a large group, I'll tell them to do both, because I can't like get my hands on every single person. So we'll do one round of a small circle. So the person in the room that has tons of range of motion is now demanding some strength and stability through that range of motion. And the people that have no range of motion, I'm telling them to do big circles. So then they have to work through that joint.